Hi everybody and welcome to the Formula One talk. Just kidding. I got Scott Gibbs here, Wales. Ugly win, Scott. Ugly win. And I called it on the under points, 54 and 54 points.
Okay.
He easily came in. What are we to make of this? It could be squeaky bum time for the Springboks in Cape Town. You had Scotland, England, Wales, and Ireland winning against Southern Hemispheres away from home. So much for Super Rugby. It punctuates the point that we should be playing in the URC. And what do you make of the game?
I thought it was a fantastic victory, obviously for Wales. Historic win.
Well, you lads called it. I picked the Boks.
Yeah. I thought it was an amazing achievement for them. I mean, the backstory aside, just historically, it's a massive victory for Wales, and I'm sure Scott will tell us more about that. And from the Springbok perspective, nobody there should be surprised. It's got nothing to do with the quality of the players, but as I pointed out, no cohesion. If you put a team together a week before you play a grizzled international test team, you shouldn't expect to win.
But they almost did.
They almost did.
You know, and not the referee, but the sideline judge who said that there was a cynical hand in the ruck by Alan Wynne-Jones. He was nowhere near the ruck. I don't know what he saw, but the ball clearly bounced off a Springbok.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, listen, you know, in the rub and the thrust of international rugby, I mean, these referees are fallible. But I mean, the great thing is he has a contingency. Let's get a view. What does the TMO think? Let's have a little sight at it, and then clearly would have seen that it was a stray Bok boot that kicked the ball away, and it wasn't a cynical foul. And the bemused Ali Wynne-Jones was, came on and came off in the same breath like he did last week at Pretoria. Exactly, yeah. And maybe that just shows the character and the resolve that this Welsh team is. That the body language didn't change. They knew they were in with a fight, and the fact is that even that 55-minute mark where you kind of felt that the South African punchers were landing, and they were landing hard, and
they should have taken it home from there.
They should have taken it home because it was an enormous effort, and fatigue was setting in. And when that happens, you can see there's a little bit of looseness, and you kind of lose your way. But certainly they found another breath. They found another breath to stay in the game, to deal with the adversities. And of course, Pollard missed another a kick from 12-3 become 12-6, and then suddenly you think, wow, there's time running out here. We have an opportunity, and there was that penalty on the left-hand side that initially I thought to myself, with the clock probably about 12 minutes ago, I thought, let's go for the line. Yeah. But of course, we were not hitting it. Dewi Lake had he had a few miss throws that kind of maybe tweaked the confidence, and Alan said, no, let's go for goal. And of course,
well, that changed the match because it gave them a sniff, and it turned out to be the right call. Great kick, great conversion for a penalty conversion, and we just looked at ourselves. We looked at each other and said, we have a shot here.
Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, you can lose the game, in any one of the kind of quarters. But I mean, you hope to think that you just, winning it at the end with 5 minutes to go, where there seemed to be
an enormous. It was less than 2 minutes when we won it, right?
Yeah, but it was that last 5 minutes that you could see that. Listen, they believed in themselves. Yeah. Again, this is like a character is destiny, isn't it? They showed enormous character last week, and yet lost it in the last kick of the game. They were still in the fight. They were still in the fight. They were still chopping tackles.
What's the saying? Never give a sucker an even break, eh?
Yeah.
And they were allowed to hang around. The Boks, I think, should have finished it on that yellow card, but they didn't. I mean, you guys both called it. I never thought, but you're right. The cohesion. They looked out of sorts. So what are we going to look forward to in Cape Town? I mean, series decider in every test, isn't it? Scotland, Ireland, all of them.
Unprecedented. We come into this kind of final weekend of autumn or winter series. 1-1, everybody's leveled it up. A lot of sides have been written off before they came here. You know, the dysfunction that we know in Eddie's camp, and yet, you know, an imperious performance by England. When they get it right, we know that they can get it right well. Farrell just took control and then drove that home.
Yeah.
You know, Ireland, I think, probably more polished of the Northern Hemisphere sides at the moment that are just, you know, play. There is something about the fundamentals that the Irish team have at the moment.
And 3 out of 5 against the All Blacks.
Yeah, that give them this opportunity to be there and to disrupt them. So listen, those 2 early games on Saturday will be key, and the kind of, you know, the bookend for us will be the Cape Town test.
Yeah.
You know, I know how much energy the Mother City gives, and the fact is that now there's a lot of interest because of of last weekend. The Wales have had, you know, 2 highly octane, oxygen-rich weeks up at altitude. Will be fizzing on Saturday. And whilst I predicted a higher score last weekend, I think this weekend should be explosive. And there'll be a lot of drama during the week because of, you know, the Boks kind of tenderised Wales a little bit, you know, and that's what playing tour rugby is. That, you know, they picked up a few bangs along the way, so there's some question marks about selection and who is fit.
Certainly,
but I mean, we have to have a big shout out for Gareth Anscombe. You know, a guy's been through 2.5 years of terrible rugby injury woes. Super classy guy, super classy player, to come on in that cauldron and then kind of grab the scruff by the neck, you know, the back of the neck. It was just phenomenal, and for him to have touches in the build-up also, but to close it out with the vociferous support behind him, the oncoming rush of the Boks with the clock closing down. I just thought it was majestic, and you know, we talk about you know, winning ugly. It's, you know, winning ugly is still winning, and you know, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, you take another winning ugly next week, wouldn't you?
Sure. I think Wales will, but the you know, the fundamentals are that there's been a lot of good things that's come out of this tour for Wales. You know, fine debut by Tommy Reffel, man of the match performance last weekend. The balance of that back row, in the context of who they've been up against, has been just magnificent. You know, Dan Lydiot, you know, performed, put one of his best performances in on Saturday. Again, nails himself down, and the class of Toby Fardo. So that balance of the back row is ideal to come up against this Boks team. And, you know, the Boks they'll have to be aware Saturday that they're going to have to change some things, because, you know, over the last 2 games, first 80 minutes, the second 80 minutes against Wales, they've come unstuck when it comes to trying to unlock and unpick this Welsh defence. And when was the last time the Boks never scored a try on home soil? I mean, so listen, the pressure is firmly in the Boks camp. I
think it was against New Zealand in the '95 World Cup.
On home soil.
Yeah.
Oh, 95, yeah.
If memory serves. I had a big bet on that game.
Yeah.
You know, it's not lost. It shouldn't be lost on anybody as well that with 4 Northern Hemisphere wins, it just adds to the excitement of the upcoming World Cup, because it's just so many teams could win it. At least 5 teams could win that World Cup. You know, even Japan almost turned over France this weekend. And Japan had a knock-on, which was only picked up by the TMO, to score 7 points at the end. They would have won that game, other than the knock-on. So, you know, you had Spain beating Canada. You know, you can understand it in football, but not rugby. And Georgia beating Italy. What a weekend for upsets, eh?
Yeah, and I guess everyone that tuned into yesterday's Wimbledon final was looking to, you know, at the underdog to overtake the incumbent champion. Listen, this is what makes rugby interesting, doesn't it? You know, because if it all went to, if you looked at the team sheet, there's clearly always one kind of out and out winner, but it never happens like that. These are the intangibles, these are the imponderables, and that's why I think the last test being here at this beautiful DHL stadium in Cape Town, you know, a lot more interest is garnered. You know, all the family and friends now that have travelled over, there'll be people just travelling over for this last test. because we have more than a sniff and a shout at this. And the fact is that I think, despite whatever the team that gets selected, as long as they are 100% convinced that they are 100% fit. And I mean, you know, there's a big onus on Dan Biggar, because we know how beautiful and brave and just this application to his body of work is significant. But he must know within himself, if you know, I'm no good if I'm 80%. I need to be 100%, and
or at least 95.
At least 95. But the fact is, you know, we saw that Gareth Anscombe's game is totally different. Maybe this is the skeleton key that Wales needs to take home this series victory that hasn't been done in the history of the game. So, you know, we've had 1,200 or so Welsh players that have tried over the last 108 years to win one test. And these lucky 23, well, 35 plus the management have been able to do that. Now they're in rarefied air at the DHL Stadium on Saturday to do what 2 weeks ago was the impossible. Yeah. How good is that?
Yeah.
Fabulous. Great for
You know the one thing that I just surprised me was how poor South Africa were under the high ball and how good Wales were under the high ball. I think that's one of the disparities in the skills that I saw. So, would you think the plan from Wales would be very, very much the same? Or serving volleys?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think we talk about this off screen a lot. It's like I don't think the fundamentals are going to change much from Wales, because, you know, when you look at the Stephen Jones as their kind of back coach and Neil Jenkins in their kicking stroke, I mean, you got two masterclass guys that have got, you know, nearly 40 years of history between them, so they know how to pepper the sky. There is no doubt about that. We've seen by this Welsh team a very communicative, very robust defensive ploy that has frustrated both opponents over the last 2 weeks. But I think there's a need for another dimension now, because the veracity of this Boks selection and Saturday now is going to be, you know, it's going to be dialed up ever so slightly. But the fact is, they may have to tinker with a couple of things, because so far the whole directness of the Bok ploy hasn't worked, because it's enabled Tommy Reffel to get over the ball, slow it down, get turnovers, you know, and also from a discipline perspective, they would have been far more encouraged on last weekend's performance, and in both, and to some degree in both sets, they finished strong. So, you know, there's a huge amount of confidence and belief that comes out of that. And then I go back to this thing, character. They've shown character, and character is destiny. Someone can't give it to you, and nobody can take it away. So I just feel that maybe it's not a stars align moment, but if Wales really played to their ability, knowing that we don't need to get frustrated. We know exactly what's coming at us Saturday. We just have to be there right in the final seconds to do what we've been doing to put them under pressure, because Wales are bent, but they haven't been broken yet. So I think it's a thrilling climax to this summer test series here down in South Africa.
No, I agree, Scott. I think we're going to see a very similar Wales team. They're going to keep the cohesion. They're not going to change much. Who would you like to see back in for the Boks, Z?
It's a difficult one to call who I would like to see. I think, Kev, we're going to see...
No, it's not. It's a simple one.
I mean...
Who would you like to see?
I mean, I don't want to be talking about Damien Willemse for another 20 minutes. So there are changes I would make. Yeah. Look, I think the Boks are going to return to normal service. I think you're going to see a very, very physical performance on Saturday. There's a lot riding on this, aside from a second historic loss against Wales.
Pick your 15 for me. Stop avoiding
It's the first match at Cape Town Stadium for the Boks, live match. The series is on the line.
Going to be a nice day, sunny weather.
Without looking past Wales, they've got 2 home tests against the All Blacks looming. Spots on paper, spots for the World Cup squad, I suppose, are on the line. So I think it's going to be a really ramped up performance from the Boks, and I think you're going to see a lot of Jasper Wiese will come back at 8. It'll be Sia at 6. You know, it'll be Peter Steph Toy at 7. It'll be everyone you expect to see. Most of the crew from the first test. I think what's happened in these first 2 tests is the guys that came back from Japan, you can tell, are slightly off the pace.
Because
Marks won't start, although there's a good argument to start him. I think he's immense. Yeah, not a bad call. Kitsoff will be back. Malhab will be back. It'll be the usual crew, and I think Damien Delendi back in the fold, Lucanio, I think it'll be a markedly... Cheslin, yeah.
It's going to be smash mouth rugby. That's all. It's not all they know. Listen, this is so unfair. It's not all they know. It's what works for them. They just haven't got it right. They just haven't got it right. And as you said, guys playing overseas and in softer leagues, it's always a little bit of timing and that. Now they will be refining that this week, coupled with getting the right mindset. And that's what makes it.
I mean, Pollard will definitely start if he's healthy. Yeah.
And Pollard, I think, needs Faf. I think they both need each other because it's Faf's energy. But I think what I noticed on Saturday is just the lack is that you have to put Pollard out there. There's a difference when you narrow his game because of the service is not good enough or it's just not sharp.
Slow,
It was a little bit slow, and I don't think that is in his own intention. But clearly Pollard would have been disappointed with just the overall lack of ability to control the game. So, you bring back those instruments that really give him the opportunity to show his skills with the support outside and certainly the key support inside, which is Faf, who's the engine. I mean, he's Mr. Perpetual Motion. He gives you the pulse. So he needs a big game on Saturday if the Boks are going to get into the rhythm that they expect to be.
I'm guessing we'll see a much improved performance on the first test and definitely on the second. And with the change of 10, with 100 taking over from Elton, I think it'll be a much better performance from the Boks.
Yeah, I'm a little less optimistic than my Welsh compatriot here. I think that they're in for a hiding on Saturday.
Wales.
Yeah. I think that the quality in the backs, the forwards, the rest.
I agree with you on the result, but I think it's going to be an action-packed game. I think it's going to be two sluggers going for it. I think big haymakers are going to be thrown and some will land.
And we'll be there.
We'll be there.
We'll be there. Yeah.
We'll be there.
So it should be a cracking build-up this week. We'll do a few more shows. Get it once the picture comes into focus. And thanks, guys, for coming in and giving us a bit of clarity on the game. Appreciate it.